The mysterious trade of the China Globber. A lost history of greed and shadows. A legend whispers through time. Long ago in the shadowed harbors of the East, where the sea swallowed secrets whole and the winds whispered names long forgotten, there was a trade that few dared to speak of, the China Globber Trade. It was a name cursed in hushed tones, an industry buried in deception, greed, and blood. The China Globbers were merchants, smugglers, and whispering ghosts of the silk and opium routes. They were neither kings nor commoners, but something far more dangerous. Men without nations, driven by something far more powerful than gold, obsession. But to understand the depths of its infamy, we must go back to where it all began. The birth of the China Globber Trade. The first whispers of the trade surfaced in the early 17th century, when the East India companies ruled the seas, and China's silk, porcelain, and spices were treasures worth dying for. But what the world did not know, what history tried to erase, was the existence of a hidden empire, an underground trade that operated beneath the surface of legitimacy. The China Globbers were not just traders. They were collectors of secrets, thieves of destiny, and architects of an empire unseen. They moved cargo that never officially existed, delivered to customers who never left a name. It wasn't just opium, silver, or tea. It was something more sinister. Legends speak of the Scarlet Manifest, a forbidden ledger that held the names of the wealthiest traders in the world. Men who built kingdoms from the shadows. And at the center of it all? The China Globbers, with their unmarked ships and eyes that had seen too much. The cargo no one spoke of. The China Globbers didn't just deal in material goods. Some say they trafficked in the unknown, artifacts that should never have been unearthed, scrolls inked in languages never meant to be spoken. Rumors spread that their cargo held more than silk and silver. It held curses. One such story tells of the Crimson Bell, a relic stolen from a temple deep within the heart of Fujian province. The bell was said to ring not with sound, but with visions. Visions of the past, the future, and sometimes, things in between. When the ship the Golden Fang transported it in 1701, the entire crew vanished without a trace. Only the ship remained, drifting silently into the port of Malacca. Its decks were empty, its cargo untouched. And yet, those who came near it spoke of hearing faint whispers, pleading whispers, calling for release. The China Globbers? They never spoke of it again. The price of greed. By the mid-1800s, the China Globber trade had reached its peak. The opium wars raged, empires rose and crumbled, and yet these ghostly merchants remained. Governments hunted them, rival traders feared them, and yet, their ships continued to slip through the waves, unseen. But all power has a price. In 1867, a ship known as the Black Sun left the port of Guangzhou, carrying what was rumored to be the final shipment of the China Globber Empire. It never reached its destination. Instead, it was found weeks later off the coast of Madagascar, its crew hanging from the masts like marionettes, their faces twisted in eternal terror. Inside the captain's quarters, a single phrase was carved into the wood. The debt is paid. And with that, the China Globber trade was no more. The truth. Or a warning. Some say the trade was merely a myth, a seafarer's tale meant to scare those who sought too much fortune. But others, they speak of a hidden archive, deep within the ruins of an abandoned port in Vietnam, where the last records of the China Globbers remain. Some say that if you listen carefully, beneath the crashing waves, you can still hear the whispers of the lost traders, warning those who would dare follow their path. But tell me, what did you think about this? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks. China Globbers. The Curse of the Scarlet Manifest. The Hidden Ledger. For decades, sailors whispered of the Scarlet Manifest, the legendary ledger that recorded every trade, every debt, and every name that profited from the China Globber Empire. It was said to be written in a language that only the initiated could understand, a script woven with secrets, curses, and the weight of blood. But after the Black Sun was found adrift with its crew hanging from the masts, the Scarlet Manifest vanished. Some believed it was destroyed, burned to erase the sins of the past. Others claimed it was buried, locked away in the one place no one would dare look, inside the wreck of the Golden Fang. For nearly 150 years, the world forgot the China Globbers. Or so it seemed. A letter from the past. In 1912, an archaeologist named Edgar Lainwright received a package in the dead of night. No return address. No sender. Inside was a single, crumbling parchment. The ink had long faded, but the words were still legible. The debt was never paid. The ledger waits beneath the waves. Tucked inside was a map, old and brittle, marked with a single location. Somewhere off the coast of Indonesia, deep in the Java Sea. Wainwright had spent years studying the China Globber legend. He knew the stories were forbidden, but he also knew something else. The Scarlet Manifest had never been accounted for. If it still existed, it would contain the names of those who controlled the secret trade networks of the world, even long after the China Globbers had disappeared. Some names still held power. The journey to the Java Sea. Wainwright was not the only one searching. Unknown to him, the Hollow Circle, a shadowy cabal that had long profited from the remnants of the China Globber Empire, had been hunting for the ledger as well. For them, the Scarlet Manifest was not just history. It was a threat. If it fell into the wrong hands, it could expose the hidden rulers of global trade, those who had built their fortunes on the backs of men who were long dead. In 1913, Wainwright led an expedition into the Java Sea. His crew consisted of 7 men, hardened sailors who had no idea what they were truly looking for. For 3 weeks, they searched the waters. Then, on a moonless night, their sonar picked up something strange. A shipwreck, one that did not belong to any recorded fleet. A ship that had no name. The ghost ship beneath the waves. When Wainwright and his crew descended into the deep, they found the wreck almost untouched. The wooden hull was covered in coral, but the markings were unmistakable. This was a China Globber ship. The ship's cargo hold was still sealed, its doors rusted shut. It took them 2 hours to pry them open. What they found inside was impossible. The cargo that should not exist. Inside the ship's hold, there were hundreds of crates, untouched by time. But it was the center of the chamber that held something terrifying. A single, upright coffin, carved from black jade, chained shut with iron bands, covered in ancient Chinese script. As Wainwright approached, the temperature dropped. His breath became visible in the frigid air. His crew whispered among themselves, refusing to come closer. Something was inside. And then, the chains began to rattle. The return of the China Globbers. The crew fled. They surfaced in panic, abandoning the wreck, the coffin, and the Scarlet Manifest. Only Wainwright remained, frozen in terror. When the others returned for him, they found him staring at the open pages of a book, muttering in a language no one could understand. His eyes had turned completely black. The Scarlet Manifest had been found. But something else had been released. The modern hunt. To this day, Wainwright's diary remains locked away in a secret archive, hidden from public knowledge. Some say the Hollow Circle took possession of it, ensuring no one would uncover what truly happened beneath the Java Sea. Others believe the China Globbers never truly vanished, that their legacy still lingers in the world's most powerful trading empires. But the question remains. What did Wainwright see? What was inside the coffin? And who still guards the Scarlet Manifest today? Some say the answers are still out there, waiting for the next soul foolish enough to go looking. The China Globber's debt was never truly paid. And the sea never forgets.